which style of the pattern do you think you would enjoy using most? Let me know that down in the comment section below. Well, hello friends. I am here to share with you a couple of new projects that I have going on, and I'm excited and extremely nervous at the same time. So, here's the scoop. I have decided to start making and selling my own patterns, and I did my first one this week. I'm in the process of getting a separate Etsy shop set up for the patterns and not my button business, but it's this big process. Like, they have to verify bank accounts and all that kind of stuff. It could take 3 to 5 days. So, but that is in the process. Now here's my pattern. It's a baby blanket. It is Filet Crochet. And it is this wonderful pony. It's kind of hard to see on here. I'll put in a picture that has a dark background so you can see it better. Okay, so it is Filet Crochet, and I used Uptown Baby Sport. I got this from Premier. I actually bought this, and it took them forever to ship. It was like a super great price. I want to say it was like less than $1 a skein, and this was back when I was doing the Wednesday Adams sweater vest, and I needed a thin yarn, and locally I wasn't really super happy with what I was able to find. So I'd ordered this, and it took forever to get here, so I settled on stuff that I can get local because I really wanted to get that made for Christmas. So this is 361 yards. It says that it is a fine yarn. It's supposed to be a number 2 sport weight, but I don't know. I think it could be pretty close to maybe a DK, a 3 weight. It is 100% anti-pilling acrylic, and there are 361 yards per skein. I used almost 2 skeins. I still had some left over from the second skein. And the way I did this, see, you can see it a lot better in this picture. That is the cover page. So you have 3 options on how you can follow the pattern. I give you a materials list, gauge, which really isn't that important on something like this as long as you have enough yarn. And like I said, I had yarn left over out of the second skein. So even if you didn't hit the gauge, you should be fine with 2 skeins using the 3.25 millimeter hook of this type of yarn. So it measures approximately 30 by 30, so it's not a huge blanket, but if you wanted it to be bigger, obviously you could use a heavier weight yarn. You could use a bigger hook, and your blanket would come out bigger. So I give you a list of the abbreviations in US terms and explain what an open mesh and a solid mesh stitch is. You get instructions on how to use all 3 of the different types of, what would you call it? Pattern formats. So you can use the graph or chart and sit there and count all the little boxes yourself, or you could use a written pattern. Okay, so you can use the chart or graph. You could use a written pattern, which basically says SM for solid mesh, and then times and how many, or OM for open mesh times, and then however many open mesh squares that you need. The other way is, and this one's my favorite, is the colored block format. So you get the color in, for this pattern, the gray blocks are the solid mesh, the white blocks are the open mesh, and there's a number in the middle of the square, and that tells you how many blocks of the open or closed mesh that you need. I also provide you with a chart for the border, which basically I did 3 rounds of open mesh. Once the main part of the blanket was done, 3 rounds of open mesh, and then I did a 4th round with a shell stitch to give it a scallop border. But that gives you the diagram on how to do that. So I'm like super nervous and excited. Can you tell? But the people do filet crochet differently. Some people, it is for an open mesh stitch, it is a chain 1 and a double crochet, and a closed or solid mesh is 2 double crochets. This pattern, it is 3. So an open mesh stitch would be 2 chain stitches and a double crochet, and a solid mesh stitch would be 3 double crochets. The very first row that you start off with, because I don't know about you guys, I can sit there and calculate it out a million times and still chain the wrong number of stitches. Either I have too many or I don't have enough. So I just went with the foundation double crochet, and since there are 46 blocks and each block is 3 stitches, that comes out to 138, but you need a +1 because you can't just end with a chain stitch. You have to end it with a double crochet. So my foundation double crochet, the very first row, was 139 stitches. And that was so much nicer than having to go back through a chain. Oh, let's work in the back bump to make it look nice and neat, or do it the old-fashioned way and just do it and then get to the end and find out that your stitch count is wrong. No way. So doing the foundation double crochet was so much easier. And then after that, you just look at the block. If it's white and it has the number 3 in it, you know that you need to have 3 blocks of open mesh. So basically 9 stitches, 2 chains and a double, 2 chains and a double, 2 chains and a double. That was like the easiest way to read it. Now, a lot of people, they like using the graph or chart itself, but I can tell you, with my aging eyes and even with my glasses on, that can be a little difficult sometimes. And then you have to count yourself. Why work so hard? So you have to sit there and count, like how many white blocks are there, and make that many open spaces, how many solids. Oh, and there's another blank, and there's some more solids, and it's there for the people who like to do it that way. And then the written pattern, if you like reading, that's there too. In my opinion, this is the easiest way. So take another look at this. With it being white, it's hard. Okay, so the 3 mesh border and the shell is a 5 double crochet shell and a slip stitch into the next post, another shell, and then the next post is a slip stitch. You go over to the next and it's a shell. And you can see the solid. Oh, this is so hard to do. You need like 5 hands. So you can see the solid part. Each block is 3 stitches. And the open part is 2 chains and a double crochet. So The only thing that you have to be mindful of with any format of the pattern is when you get to the end of the row, you have to chain 3 and turn your work. It doesn't say that on the chart. It doesn't say that in the written, and it doesn't say that on the color blocks. You just know that. It does explain it in the directions on the pattern that is automatically assumed that you chain 3 and turn your work. And so that's my big announcement. Now, did I mention? I think I did. I don't remember. Okay, so what I'm doing is I'm setting up an Etsy shop. And I was deciding on how I was going to do this. How I would just sell it. I thought, well, if somebody wanted to purchase it, they could just email me. And then I could invoice them through PayPal. And once they paid, then I email them the digital files. That's a lot of emails. I mean, I could do it that way. I checked into Shopify, and you can get a fairly reasonable rate, but with that fairly new, like the last year or so, internet sales tax and all the different states getting on the bandwagon with the internet sales tax on Shopify, you have to deal with that yourself. So it's every city, every county, every state, everything. It's all a different tax rate. And then you have to keep track of that and then send out payments, however often it is that they, the different areas have you send it out. And I'm like, yeah, I don't want to deal with that. No way. And there is probably a program out there that you can link everything to that'll track it for you, but still, that's a lot of checks or electronic payments to send out, and I just didn't want to hassle with that. I really didn't want to do Etsy or anything like that because of all the fees. And because of the fees that they charge, it makes your price go up. So after thinking about it for a week, I decided, okay, Etsy deals with all the sales tax. I don't have to worry about it. I can just, the file will be there if somebody wants to purchase it. That's great. It's an instant download. There's nothing for me to hassle with. I don't have to email anybody. They don't have to email me. They just go there and buy it. And I am familiar with Etsy and how their platform works because I do have a different Etsy shop, but it has absolutely nothing to do with crocheting. But setting up the new shop, you have to verify your bank account. And they use some third-party system to verify the bank account. And I didn't want to give them access to my account. Just call me paranoid if you want, but I did not want this third-party thing to have access to my account. So I opted to do it manual, which could take 3 to 5 business days, and they'll just make a 1-cent deposit, and then there's some code, and then I have to enter the code in, and then I can continue the process of setting that up. But in the meantime, I will set up a temporary listing in my other shop that has absolutely nothing to do with crochet. For those of you who feel like you just absolutely have to have this pattern right now, but I'll set that up temporarily. I'll put the link in the listing below, and when the crochet shop is all approved and up and running, I will change that link out to the crochet shop link. So, I know, it's crazy. It is crazy. It's like, I'm one of these people that's like instant gratification when I get an idea. I got to do it right now. And so for this to take me a week of thinking about how I want to do this, I mean, I even looked at a couple of others, and everything's such a process. I don't want to deal with it. So I'm going with what I'm familiar with. I just have to wait for the account verification thing to go through. I'm trying to think if there's something else I need to tell you about. Now I thought about, okay, I could do a tutorial for this, but we would be here for hours. It's not just a little small block. It's like the whole blanket. And we'd be here for hours. I didn't want to spend hours. It's just, filet crochet is just so easy. And if you really, really, really think we need a tutorial for it, I could do one. You'll have to let me know in the description, or yeah, in the comments down below. Let me know in the comments down below if you need me to do a tutorial like on how to do the open mesh, how to do the solid mesh. It's really, really easy. Beginners will love a pattern like this. And even experienced crocheters that just want to like take it easy and make something cute, they're going to like a pattern like this. But if you really, really, really think I need to do a tutorial, you just let me know in the comment section. So some other things that you will need besides your yarn and your hook and your scissors and a yarn needle, and of course my pattern, you're going to need to block this just so that your open mesh squares are like more defined. So you will need a blocking mat. You're going to need some type of pin to pin it down to the blocking mat. Now, of course, you can do it wet. You can spritz it with water. You can use a steamer and steam it. There's all kinds of different ways. But you're definitely going to want to block it. And it just, the end result comes out so much better. So much better. All right, I'm excited. Let me know what you think. Which style of the pattern do you think you would enjoy using most? Let me know that down in the comment section below. And in the meantime, if you watch this video right here, it is the one that YouTube and I think that you should see next. And thanks so much for watching.